You're listening to Beauty, Strength, and Dominance, the official podcast of Lingerie Fighting Championships. And now, here's your host, Michael Larkin.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another edition of Beauty, Strength, and Dominance, the official LFC Lingerie Fighting Championships podcast. My name is Mike Larkin, and joining me once more is the one, the only Miss Freedom, formerly known as Shelby Doll. Shelby, it's a pleasure to have you on the show. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
I am good. First and foremost, a lot has been going on in the world of Shelby Doll. I listened to the song, first of all, Wendy, Dan Diamond, and Fat Boy Slim. I love the song. I listened to it not too long ago. If you guys have not checked it out, you should. Let's talk about it, man, because it's great to hear your voice, great lyricologist. I got to say, I love what I heard.
Oh, I'm glad you really enjoyed it. You know, the song has a lot of meaning to me personally. I've had a really just life-changing year and a half, and a lot has gone on and a lot has changed for me in my life personally, and professionally, and in every way possible. And this song kind of embodies some of the emotion and things that I have been dealing with for quite some time. So the song is really significant to me. I was really hesitant, honestly, to record it. But Dan Diamond is a wonderful person. If anybody has not got the opportunity to work with him, he's an incredible artist, and producer, and creative. Super, super nice person, really grounded. He's been through a lot of ups and downs in his life, but it has landed him somewhere that has brought him an immense amount of peace. And so to work with him is really a blessing. So because of his support and encouragement, Wendy was able to be recorded, and with his talent, be recorded well, and now it's doing awesome. So I was pretty surprised. I didn't know what to expect, and I'm happy with the results.
I think when you have any type of song that just not only is just the art form there, it's just having the words and the relationships and everything that goes into it of what you've gone through. And I got to say, for those who haven't checked it out, you should. But I'm really moved just by the fact that, again, not only that you put your heart and soul into this, but it just goes to show another avenue that really you get to really showcase your talents in, which we'll touch a bit on in today's forum. But God dang it, man, adding another lyricologist and adding more lyrics and more adding to the music game. I think that's wonderful, man. You found another knack of yours with Shelby Doll.
Yeah. Well, I write a lot. I'm a historian and an academic, but I've always written poetry since I was a little kid. So writing is not something that I'm foreign to. It's something I've done for a very long time. And it's a way I sort of get out a lot of things that are frustrating me. So a lot of my poems and stuff were always kind of dark, like it was my way of releasing a lot of those emotions throughout my life. And then I started writing lyrics and sort of was doing some, we'll say, ghost writing for artists for quite some time. And and now to have my own voice singing a song that has so much meaning for me, it was a fun experience. But it was so strange to hear my own voice, because prior to this, the only time I ever sang was in the shower or my Bronco on tour, or the tour bus. So no one's really ever heard me sing until now.
Hey, I mean, sometimes I think when you have that artistic talent, or sometimes you mess around to it, it really does. You kind of find a nice little groove. I mean, it's one of those things too where you try something. I mean, we've all sang in the shower, we've all sang in our private homes and whatnot. But I mean, when you're really putting out there, it's a scary experience. But also at the same time too, you go and you watch bands. Like I remember seeing Aerosmith and Sammy Hagar. I mean, Aerosmith and Sammy Hagar. Sammy Hagar's almost in the 70s, for God's sake, and the man could still do his thing. You could watch all these pop groups, rock bands, what have have you. It's where you really start is the thing too, as well, is because if you can evoke emotions, elicit reaction, which you've done throughout your entire career, whether you're doing the showgirl stuff or whether you're doing whatever that you do, I think it's just another way to really evoke emotions, elicit reactions, and add that Maya Angelou on top of it, man, with the poetry side of things. So you're taking all these surroundings and the historical features that you mentioned here and the historical presences and really putting it all into one, so to speak.
Yeah, and I think like a lot of the comments like coming back from some of my fans that have followed my career on the song, and new fans that I've built because of the song, is that they're like, I just keep playing it on repeat because it reminds me of my high school relationship, or it reminds me of this, or it reminds me of that. So it's also really interesting to see, like, I know what the song is about, what the lyrics were inspired by and what it's about, but it's so interesting to see how so many different people take those lyrics and interpret them differently. But I'm happy that people are connecting with it, because at the end of the day, the reason why me and Dan sort of joined forces on this project was just because we wanted the lyrics heard. We felt that those lyrics were significant, and represented a lot of things. And so I just wanted the lyrics heard. And so now that they're being heard, and they're being heard by so many more people than I could have imagined, it feels good to know that, good poetry or meaningful poetry is still wanted, you know?
Oh, agree wholeheartedly. And I mean, I won't spoil it for everybody, but I will say this: when you do listen to the song, because the link will be in the description to it, I think not only the meaning and the moving of the songs, I mean, again, now we talk about relating to people, evoking emotions, elicit reactions. I think when you do what you do, it's like you look at Stairway in Heaven, for God's sake, by Eric Clapton back in the day, with how meaning was that, with the death of his family, the death of his son. There's so many different things that people take in and resonate with so many different things, aspects of life. And I mean, we'll add on to this throughout your life, throughout your career. It's amazing to see the transition of, okay, I did my showgirl stuff. I'm on the cover of Playboy. I'm doing all this stuff. I got to ask you, how awesome is it just to see just the overview and the overall analyzation, dissecting and deciphering, if you will, from where you are to where you are now? Because it's a crazy transition, but hell of a transition it is.
Well, I mean, there's not really been a lot on my background. So, I mean, I guess I could kind of start a little bit at the
Sure.
beginning, kind of give an overview. It's something that a lot of fans don't really know about me, the transition through my life. I never really believed that you had to be stuck to one thing ever. Um, I feel like every day is not a day to be wasted. When I don't want to do something anymore, I simply just don't do it. Um, when I want to do something, I do it. And so it's led to a very eclectic life of things in which I have done. Growing up, my family was not rich. And my relationship with my family has had many, many ups and downs. My family is a family of a lot of generational trauma and issues that are quite significant. Um, and I was kind of, we'll say, the last generation of that. So I'm the washout generation, we'll say. I emancipated my parents as a young teen. I worked several jobs. I graduated high school because I did a transcript school. I didn't attend regular high school at all because I couldn't, because I was already working and had an apartment and had bills like an adult as a young person. So I didn't really have a normal teen experience, we'll say, right? I was already an adult. When I left that, I had gotten married very, very young. I had a child very, very young. I felt a lot of pressure to do so because there was just a lot of pressure from family, from people, but also because everybody in my family had gotten married very, very, very young, between the ages of 15 and 18. Um, and so I got married young, and that wasn't the thing for me. The person that I married was a really nice man. He still is a nice man, but it wasn't a match. I was just a kid growing up, and I was growing up with a lot of trauma and a lot of problems. When I was really young, something really terrible happened to me, and it changed my life. And that's part of the reason for the roller coaster through high school and the emancipation and all of those things. And I dealt with a lot of depression, a lot of just really difficult, like mental health issues when I was younger, because of what occurred when I was 14 years old. Um, and it impacted my life for about a decade. It was really hard for me to learn to overcome that and not blame myself for something somebody did to me, right? So it changed my life. Like, so what was the worst thing that possibly could have happened to me as a young woman turned out to be probably, I now look at it as one of the biggest blessings in my life because it made me exactly who I am today. But it took me a long time to get to that point, to accepting that reality. After I got divorced, I was in the military. And so I was in the military for a short time. I left the military. I had my second child. A lot of people don't have this background, so this is going to be a fun podcast to put out. It's very personal, but it's a different side of me. I think it will maybe help people understand sort of all these transitions that have gone through as an artist. But after I got out of the military, that's when I kind of started in entertainment and hard. I've always been, even in, I was underage, go dancing at a bar, selling shots, producing their events. That was one of the jobs I worked in at high school age. So I have been producing and in entertainment at some capacity and some level for a very long time. I used to background dance the concerts that would come into Portland, Maine. I did that as a teenager and then as a young adult. But after I got out of the military is when it really hit hard. I had only been a performer for maybe 6 months and I already was touring. So I got picked right up, boom, 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 right into the circuit. There was no lines, no waiting. And then I spent so long touring as an artist all over North America, different places of the world. I've performed in every major city, everywhere in between as a headliner, a paid headliner for all kinds of different sorts of shows, whether it be cabarets, theaters, nightclubs, whoever booked it's where I went. The more years I went on, the more my show grew until I ended up with the tour bus, the trailer, the long lines, the billboards, the excitement, the red carpets, all of that stuff, and but it was a lot of work. As I grew up in entertainment, entertainment is sort of like a really fluid world. So everything sort of intersects, I met singers, I met actors, I met producers, I met, any sort of type of entertainer I crossed paths with, work with, or was associated with. So I decided, man, there's so many opportunities than just what I'm doing here. And I cannot do this forever. So it would be really smart of me to take advantage of all of these connections and networks and stuff that I'm building. So I started a PR company that really took off. It exploded really quickly. It did very well. And I also was producing events. So I was producing all kinds of events, running training centers, training schools, summer camps. I was the president of the Canadian Pole Sports and Arts Federation. I was an international master trainer for the Pole Sports and Arts World Federation. I was training national presidents from all over the world. I was building coaching curriculums. I was attending school towards, and doing my BA and my master's. I was running a farm when I wasn't touring and doing all of those things in Vegas and, around North America. I would have an off season, and during the off season, I would run the farm. And at the time, me and my partner at the time had a 300-acre farm and hunting camp. So I would bring in hunting and hunters, and I would be hunting guide. I'm a licensed hunting guide here in New Brunswick. And we had Highland cattle and did a sunflower festival, and my daughter ran the sunflower festival. And, so it's so many different things. I had my hands in so many different baskets because, I learned that the more baskets you had, when one basket wasn't doing so well, the other, in my case, 5 or 6 baskets kind of carried you. And anybody in business knows that you have to diversify and do that. I wrote and published a book on Pole Sports history. I've just done so much in such a short amount of time, so much living. I mean, I was working 80 to 120 hours a week, between homeschooling my daughter and running everything that I was running, and just trying to take advantage of absolutely every possible network and avenue that I could, um, to ensure that, there is long-term success somewhere. And when COVID hit, thank God I did, because so many other entertainers were really struggling through COVID. And for me personally, we sailed right through it because I had all of those baskets. So some of them were affected during certain points of COVID and others were carrying the weight and vice versa. So I actually donated a lot of money during COVID to a lot of other artists and stuff that, girls that couldn't pay their rent, they couldn't work, they couldn't, and I sent a lot of money out during COVID. Um, but it's just been such a cool experience to be able to work with so many phenomenal artists, to be a part of the agency in Vegas, to own the agency that I own, to, get the opportunity to meet the people I've met, people that were my idols, people I looked up to as a young person, I became a coworker with, and it's been such a fun ride. But now I'm at the point in my life where, okay, I did a whole lot of living really fast. And it was awesome and it was great and I enjoyed it. But entertainment is Neverland, which I sing about in my song. It's not real. It's a fictitious place, and it's built to be that way because entertainment is an escape for everybody, right? The artists are creating a world for everyday people to escape into. So when you live and you work in entertainment, the level I was, it's like the real life sort of never really exists in the capacity that some people wish it did. So I decided that I was going to slow down my life this year. And I had some health problems that I faced in the spring, and I had a surgery in Vegas. I got divorced, and it's been a big transitional year. My daughter struggles with her mental health significantly, and she's in a treatment facility for that, so she's no longer in my home due to that, because so they're working on the process to get her approved for being disabled. And so it's been emotionally a very difficult year, health-wise a very difficult year. And I'm explaining all this because I think it's really important for women or people in general to understand that life is hard, but not to give up, right? For the first time in my life, I've had a really hard go early on. And if I had given up when the things happened to me when I was just a young girl, if I had thrown in the towel then, I would not have gotten and to be able to do or experience the things in which I experienced as an adult, right? And now, this year in my life, if I had given up when I thought about giving up, when it all hit at once and it became very difficult, I would not be where I am today, where I've found my peace and my freedom and my happiness, and that slow down. So a lot of people kind of saw my transition from heavy entertainment to now having the record shop and sort of just doing my PhD and just kind of floating along, kind of almost like a ghost, it seems like, as like a downgrade in my life. Whereas for me, I'm like, hallelujah. Like, oh my God, I have never felt so weightless. Like in my entire life since I was that little girl, this is the first time in my life I feel 125% myself, that I feel like just so much weight lifted from me. Just have so much peace in my life, so much love surrounding me. And it's because I chose happiness and peace. So I was excited to do this interview because I think it's important for people to know it's a choice.
Agreed wholeheartedly. And I will add on to your point because let me just say something, man. Besides the fact that you're a trailblazer, I got to say you're one hell of a woman just for the fact of the business savvy, the grind never stops, the positively proactive. I think with everything that you've gone through, and first of all, God bless your daughter. And I hope that everything goes well with her. And I'm glad to see you're both still with us, which I think is wonderful, superb. And I also look at it from a stance too as well. You start from the ground up, you know what I'm saying? You went everything with your marriage and everything with your family. What you did was a bold move. It's a great step to where you needed to go. And I think the trajectory, like we mentioned earlier in today's forum, of where you go, you get to work with a lot of your celebrities, friends, and a lot of great people from showgirls and helping people and teaching, which is so imperable and so wonderful to see, teaching the next generation and providing that pearls of wisdom, so to speak. I think for you, not only is it this more of a sense of normality, because in the entertainment business, you're not really normal. You keep going and you get the grind and you're a showman. But like you mentioned in your song, like you so eloquently put about Neverland, it's wonderful. But now that you've stepped out of that box, you got your record store, you love your music, you get to be you. It's you just amplified more, but also at the same time, it's peace and calming, like you mentioned. But at the end of the day, Shelby, it's all about that representation of your presentation, how you present yourself.
Yes, well, and that's the thing, right? Like, the the biggest reason I was excited for this interview is I got a lot of times in entertainment from other showgirls that were struggling, or from other artists that were struggling, other musicians that were struggling. I always got, well, this is so easy for you, right? You don't understand. This is so easy for you. This is so easy for you. And people never understood how much I've struggled in my life and how difficult it has been right from the time I was a young girl. My life has not been a cakewalk. It's been very difficult. Um, and no, it wasn't easy for me, but because it was difficult, I learned to have a lot of grit. I learned to keep pushing. I learned to not give up. I mean, people will say, well, you're just good at everything you do. Well, that's not true. There's a lot of things I fail at, I fail at, I fail at. The reason that I will find success, or what people consider success in things, is because I simply will not give up. You can kick me 1,000 times, but if I believe in something and I believe that it is right and that it is going to work, you can kick me 1,000,000 times and I'm not going to give up. I won't give up until I don't believe it's not right anymore, or I don't believe it's going to work anymore. Um, and, or I'm just bored with it, and then I'm going to do whatever else it is that I want to do. But no, easy is unfair. And so I thought this would be a cool opportunity to explain, no, it hasn't been easy. There's nothing that I've gotten in my life that's been easy. Absolutely not. I have had to work very hard. When I was in business, I was a woman in business in an industry where the women are kind of treated like you're like helpless and you need the rich cup owners to help you. No, no, right? And that's that's not true. And so I had to learn to navigate all that water and have strength and assert myself. But that grit that I learned so young is what pulled me through all of that. And then this year has been a big learning lesson in love, in life, in finding who it is that you are, connecting with who it is that you are. Because I think a lot of people walk this earth kind of like a ghost, because you're so focused on work, 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 career, 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 career. You've got to have this certificate. You've got to have that. You've got to have this. And then you become so consumed in that rat race that what you don't do is you don't take time to find out who the number one person in your life is, and that's yourself. So I took this year and I did a lot of self-reflection, and I took a lot of time to reconnect with my soul and figure out where it is that I wanted to go for happiness, not for economic gain. What can I do where I'm going to make enough money to be happy and be at peace, but not feel so consumed by it that I start to disappear myself. And so that's why I've chosen to move into what I'm moving into now, which is having the record shop where I am right now. I'm in my store, and then, have my record shop and work on finishing my PhD, and just surround myself with positive people and a positive environment. And here in Campbellton, New Brunswick is probably one of the most beautiful places that I've ever been. The people here are incredibly supportive and loving and excited to have a record shop and entertainment here. One of my good friends, Serge, who's producing events, we're working on, he's bringing music in. So I brought music in with the record store, and we're going to do some small jam nights and live music nights here. And of course, I sell all of the music. But he's bringing in a lot of cover bands and other artists that travel through Canada back into this area. So we're kind of working together to bring music back to this area of New Brunswick and Canada and build it back up again like it used to be many years ago, so that live music doesn't disappear and that artistry doesn't disappear in this area. And the people here have been incredibly supportive of that mission. The record store has been super busy, and it's been really exciting to just have this sort of, like you said, normalcy in my life. I wake up, I open my store, I take my walk with my dog, I look at the beautiful mountains and the river here, the Ristigers River, and I just float for the first time in my whole life. And, it's just peaceful.
I think, like you mentioned earlier, talking about like the mental anguish part of it, I think when you go through it, I'm going to say this right now, I've gone through my mental health as well. I'm very open. I was in a bad place about 3 years ago, but I think with me, it's getting through it and just really continuing to go. I always say this to people, it's a grind and shine type of mentality. We mentioned positively proactive, but it's having the right mindset to invest and manifest, so to speak. Invest in yourself, invest in what you want to do, and manifest, put it out to the floor.
Yeah. And what's funny is I told one of my friends the other day, I was like, you need to take that time off from work and take that money and invest it in yourself.
Right.
You're going through this hard time. Square your crap away by investing in you. And I think, I'm doing some work for the Global Religious Database, which is kind of cool because I'll be deeping as an academic. So I'll be digging deeper into like, global religions and spirituality to do a bunch of sort of, submissions for them. And that's really cool. But in reality, like, I just think that people have become so disconnected from what truly is important. I mean, at the end of the day, when you're laying there and it's your last day and you're taking your last breath, which is really what really matters, other than that you enjoyed every single day of your life. And that is possible. It is possible to wake up and enjoy every single day. You're going to have days where bad things happen, but it doesn't mean you can't find something positive in every single day. And I think there's just such a focus on striving for things that don't really fulfill you. I mean, I have 1 million certificates for 1 million different things. If you look at all of the awards I've won, and there's a friggin' ton of them. I mean, I probably have in a tote in my room over 50 plus showgirl pole awards, certificates, sashes, crowns, all this crap. And I call it crap because at the end of the day, it's not that I'm not proud of those things. It's great. But not one of those things fulfilled me. Not one. What fulfills me is waking up in the morning, taking my dog for a walk, and watching that sun go up, and just having a moment to myself where the whole world is still. And, I think that, whole like mission to sort of to soul and to fulfillment, just a lot of people aren't taking it. And so some of my PhD work, talking about the Cherokee and stuff, it kind of digs into that a little bit because it's also part of my methodology in history has to do with your personal connection with your research and the space in which you are researching. So I'm working on developing sort of a not a different approach to history, but just introducing a different way of seeing how history can be done through being better connected with your environment in that way.
I think it's a way, and I'm going to add on to this because I love how you just put that into this and very eloquently said. I love the fact that, and for me, I look at it from my stances with what I do. It's like I love interviewing people, folks. I love talking to Shelby Dahl, both on air and off air, ladies and gentlemen. She's a badass of a human being. But I mean this wholeheartedly to you because it's one of the things like I love doing this, but I think at the end of the day, I love surrounding myself, like you mentioned earlier, with the positive people, much like yourself, much like everybody that I surround with. But at the end of the day, like I love waking up. I love doing what I get to do with my job. I love just spending time with my mom. I love family. It's the two, it's family and foundation, ladies and gentlemen. It's the family and foundation. And really being spiritually connected and really in tune with the universe is one of the amazing things. And not only just for your soul and your surroundings, but just as a whole. We talked about finding peace. So I think if you can really invest and manifest, like we mentioned, and you really put the time in, you're golden, man. And it just leads to more golden moments and memories created and moments and memories yet to be created.
Oh yeah, and for everybody it's different. A lot of people are really fulfilled by, getting those achievements and whatever, like that becomes their whole purpose in life. But for me it wasn't. And I know it sounds strange to say that. A lot of people say it sounds selfish because, well, I could never do that, and you did that and you don't even really care about it. I'm like, well, it's not that I don't care about it. It's just that, just because you're good at something doesn't mean it's what you're meant to do.
Right.
Right? Like that's just the truth. But it's funny because when I was writing some academic work, I was writing, this very deep intellectual write up on, soul and connecting with your soul and what I think that is or that means when talking to some other academics last week. Then I simplified it to like a kid's version, and I sort of explained it as, we're all a seed in a garden, right? But if in that garden, the people around us, it's our sun, our water, and our fertilizer. But if the fertilizer is off, and farmers know this, I know this from farming. If your fertilizer is off just a little bit, it doesn't even have to be much, just a little bit. You just sit there as a seed until you mold. You don't grow. You just sit and mold. So you're just sitting there stagnant, molding. And then even if you kind of sprout a little bit, you don't ever really blossom. And then sometimes, a bird comes over and grabs the seed and drops it into a shit pile in the back of the field somewhere. And all of a sudden, that moldy seed just turned into this beautiful flower in the middle of a shit pile in the back of a farm field. And, I think some people get the analogy and some people don't. But what I'm trying to say is that your perfect environment isn't always the environment that everybody thinks is perfect.
Right.
It's your perfect environment for your seed. And so you have to surround yourself with the proper place for your soul to grow. It needs to be positivity, positive people around you, positive environment. You need to be happy with what you do, and you should be able to wake up every day and love your life. And if you don't, have the balls to change it. I mean, this year, for me to change my life to find peace and happiness and positivity meant that, I lost what was a really high income earning job. I stopped. I pulled right out. I said, nope, don't want to do it anymore. I'm retiring. Bye. Not because I didn't love what I did to an extent, but because, like I said, just because you're good at something doesn't mean it's what you're meant to do. Right? It was all of the other things that had a negative impact on other parts of my life that made it, to me, it wasn't worth the great money that I made, And so but that took a lot of balls to do that. A lot of people wouldn't choose to do that. They would choose the money over peace. I chose peace. And I'll tell you right now, I don't regret it one bit.
I think
one bit.
You have the best courage of this, because what I love about it too as well is the courageousness of this. I mean, you got your record shop, you're going to be doing cover bands in there. You really want to see that business grow with your record shop and everything that goes into it, providing that music entertainment. I mean, doing the music that you did when you were doing your showgirl stuff in burlesque and the cabaret. I mean, that's you, but at the same time, this is another extension. You have so many different layers and extensions of you, and I think that's what's great about your spirit, Ms. Shelby Dahl, is you as a whole not only is wonderful and beautiful, but I think a lot of people could take it in. You have all layers and you have different extensions of yourself. just put it out to the forefront, do your thing. I think this perfect extension, so to speak, has really blossomed you to where you are, and I can't wait to see what comes forward. I really wish you nothing but the best.
Oh, I think it's going to be really great. And it's funny because a lot of people in this area keep making comments like, how did this girl make it here? Like they Google me and they're like, oh my God, they sell cardboard cutouts of her at Walmart and she's in Campbellton. Like nobody can figure out why I'm here. And I keep saying, I just want a piece of my life. I think this is great. I love this place. Everybody thinks I'm crazy as hell because I picked I'm, I can swear on this show, right?
Yeah.
I'm in East Bumfuck County nowhere. Like, and I'll tell you what, I mean, it's a wonderful place. Like last night, my friend brought in a Beatles cover band. They were great help. They're awesome. They're out of Quebec. And I went in there, nothing but just people smiling, positivity. And I'm going to be honest, there wasn't one event in Vegas or in the industry that ever was that positive in my life. It's just so, I've chosen to put myself in an environment. I've chosen to move my friggin' seed to the shit pile. And I'll tell you what, the shit pile is where it's at because this place is wonderful. The people are wonderful. That event was just such a great experience. And I've been a part of a lot of events. There wasn't one person complaining, nothing but just excited, for the producer and his success in it. People shaking hands with me that have come into the shop and just, it's just nice to be a part of a space where there's not really a heavy competitiveness and where people appreciate your presence. Like they're so happy about the shop being here. They appreciate it. Whereas if I opened the shop in Vegas, it would not have the same response or meaning to the community, right? For the community here, this means a lot for them to have this record shop here.
We mentioned the environment and the respect and the tact and the fact that you're just in East Bumfuck. That's great. I'm not gonna lie.
County nowhere.
There you go. It's one of those things where, like Shelby mentioned here, folks. The shit pile is where it's at. You could go. It's like I'll say it in the States here. We'll mention Las Vegas for an example, since you mentioned Vegas. It's like you could live like where I live in Long Island, New York, the suburbs of New York. So everybody loves New York City. I'm in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. You could go to like Billings, Montana, and get some type of love. You know what I'm saying? Because Billings is so small and it's in Montana, for God's sake. You're riding the horses. We got a lot of farms and whatnot. And besides, when I was a young kid, there was a show on Nickelodeon called Caitlin's Way that was based in Montana. I digress. So my pop culture nerdiness aside, we have so many different avenues, which is what Shelby's saying. And she has found her calling, so to speak. And what I love about it, too, as well, is to add on to your point, we're in a day and age where social media is all the rage, and I think it's nice for people to be in that moment instead of being in the moment on your doggone phone. So social media does also have an influx to this, so it's nice to kind of take our minds away from the phone, so to speak. You know what I'm saying?
But it is kind of a different experience for me. Like being here, coming in here. Some people knew who I was, some people didn't. Then people find out, and then it's funny because like even last week, some guy drove here to the record shop from Ontario, from Toronto. He came in here, brought Playboy magazines for me to sign, and I was like, I don't know how to take this. Like, I have not. I was like, I don't know. I don't know, because I'm in my. How do I explain it? Like, I'm not in entertainment mode when I'm here. So when people speak to me here, it's like people are talking to me as me. This is me. I'm just this geeky, and I'm geeky as all get out, but and I'll show you around my shop briefly before we end, and you see how geeky I am. But I'm geeky and eclectic, and just so it almost, for the first time in my career, it was awkward. It's never been awkward before, but I think it's because I'm just not in that mindset.
You know what it is? And I got to laugh. The reason why I laugh so hard at that, and with a hardly laugh, is because I have the vivid image here, Miss Shelby doll, of the guy just coming in with the Playboy, that infamous cover that we've all seen, folks. That will be put into this show. And then the guy just like, can you sign this? And you're just like, all right, this is not who I am right now. I'm trying to be my normal self. And I don't know
whether to sign it or charge him or make it buy a record first.
Before I sign this, can you please go see around the records?
Yeah. Could you please, before I sign this, could you please go purchase $150 in vinyl?
And vinyl, yes.
then I will feel free to take the Sharpie and mark that. Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's a flattering experience, but I understand where you're coming from just because it's like you're not in entertainment mode. I'm in my shop. This is me. This is my about here, your vibe. And then, all right, I get it. I get it, though. I know I get it.
It was just it just was a strange experience for me. I didn't know how to think of it. And then it's funny because I know some people come in the shop because they're so excited about the music shop. That's most people. And it's all ages. There's a lot of young teens collecting vinyl, buying turntables and stuff. And so, which is really exciting because that's what you want to see. That's what's going to keep vinyl and keep music alive and keep live music alive, is these young folks taking a lot of interest in it. But I know some folks come in because they heard from somebody that this former, we'll say, showgirl icon or whatever it is you want to tag me as. There's so many things, or Playboy model or whatever has this record shop in this tiny place. But it's, you can tell that's why they're there, but they don't really say anything. So they kind of awkwardly walk around the shop, and then every 5 seconds they're looking over at me, and then they're looking at CDs and they're looking over at me. And I'm like, it's kind of an interesting dynamic. But I think some of that will wear off in time, I'd imagine.
I think so, but I think what everybody gets from what we've seen in your career from your previous 2 episodes on this show, and just the conversations that I always enjoy having with Miss Dahl, is the fact that we go from the entertainment side of things to just the awesomeness. And yes, I said the word awesomeness. That is this human being that is Shelby Dahl. And I will say this before we close out and we keep talking about your awesomeness. Let's talk about the awesomeness of this record shop before we close out. If you want to show me around, just give us a little tour of what we can see here. I'd love to see it, Shelby.
Yeah, you got to see it. Look,
I want to see it. Here we go.
This is my awesome record shop shirt here.
Mm-hmm.
Notice,
love the life you live.
Yeah, see that? And then I've got the button here.
Yes. Oh, go to the right a little bit. Go over just a little bit.
Boom. Got it?
Well-behaved women barely make history. I like it.
Yeah. So anyway, I made little work shirts for the record shops. This is what I wear when I'm working. But see, I've got I don't know what you can see, but I got some gaming stuff.
Yep, you got the Pac-Man. Hell yeah.
Yeah, this is the area where musicians will play. But right now I'm prepared for a sale for tomorrow.
Okay.
So tomorrow I'm doing a pillow fight sale. So people can bring in a pillowcase and fill it with vinyl out of these boxes for $20. And I'm calling it a pillow fight sale. And then this over here, I got all the 8 tracks here. I've got all the slide guitars, which are made from an artist in South Carolina that I met on tour. So I've got some tour photos here, musicians and stuff that I've worked with throughout the years. And then, of course, because I'm a historian, I've got the history of blues and some little quotes and stuff on the wall. And then I got pinball machines and all kinds of vinyl in here. All kinds of little novelty items. It's kind of eclectic, but Campbellton has a lot of really successful artists that have come out of here. Surprisingly, people wouldn't think so, but it's a great place for music. So I've got kind of we'll say the Campbellton Hall of Fame wall here. Then I've got all kinds of stuff here. Funny clothes. I call these are my this stuff is so ugly it's cute wall. So people can start and shop there. Of course, I've got some Shelby Dahl memorabilia stuff in here. So I've got my tour case and whatever that's been everywhere under the sun. And there's kind of some quirky fun things in here. So it's decorated quite eclectically. My whole store. So you got CDs, we got all kinds of stuff through here, but you can see my Kiss groupies I made out of Barbie dolls.
Yes, ma'am.
You got to have those. That's essential. And then in here is my pride and joy. This is my Kiss collection.
Okay.
So I will bring you in. And I've had people coming in from everywhere to see this Kiss collection, which is pretty exciting. But yeah, look. It's pretty sick.
Oh my goodness. I love that. I love that a lot.
So I've got this is my pinball machine, and then on this TV during the day when the shop is open, I play The Second Coming because it's just a good overview of Kiss. Then of course I have all of this stuff. My pizza box. I went to the last 2 Kiss shows in December in New York City.
All right.
And of course I did all of the Kiss things. So I've got the Kiss pizza box from Prince Street Pizza, and I'm such a Kiss fan that when they gave out the cookies at the newsstand, I didn't open mine.
I love that.
I saved it in the saran wrap and wouldn't eat the cookie. And me and my friend had them wrapped up like in our shoes in the carry-ons to bring it back. So anyway, and then so I've got all my Kiss stuff here, and then of course I have some Playboy things in here. This Playboy's been a big part of my life. And then I have some Shelby doll stuff in here a little bit, not too much, but like one of my old costumes from my Kiss inspired show. And then some of my stage costumes like this here, just for kind of fun. And so anyway, so this is my Kiss room. And let's see. My shop's awesome.
I love it. I got to tell you, Shelby, I am loving the rooms. I'm loving all of this, man. I really cannot. I got to tell you, if I'm ever in Campbell, I'm coming to that shop of yours, girl. I will visit your shop.
You've got to. And this is like one of my record rooms here.
Okay.
So, got them all organized, the whole 9 yards, and it's kind of fun to come and dig. And then this is my cash register, so it's where you lighten your wallet.
What?
But I put all kinds of funny things like, see, stealing sucks, be cool, don't steal our records, bye.
I love the quirkiness. I love the quotes. I love the geekiness. I can dig it.
Then this is the vault. So this room here is where all the heavy collectors come in. And it says enter if you dare. And then I put, but something touched me deep inside the day the music died. Right. Yep. And then in here, see, only the most brave shop the vault. Is a whole bunch of more vinyl all on shelves. So this is where kind of the diehards come in and sort of dig through for those gems that are hidden in all of the overstock. So anyways, that's the shop. And then I'm starting a grilled cheese cafe in here. So when the sale isn't going on and all these records are not stacked up all the way down through the store, there'll be a grilled cheese cafe. So people will be able to come in, get a grilled cheese, listen to some live music, pick out a record, buy a cassette, whatever it is that they want to do. And that's my store. I'll show you the entrance way before we get off here.
Of course.
You got to see the sign or it's not official.
All right.
And then out here is my storefront.
Yes. All right now.
Hard luck woman.
Yes, ma'am. I see hard luck woman. All right now. But it also not only represents Shelby Doll here, folks, to a T. But first of all, love the name number one. But I got to say, that's it's nice. It's quaint. It's something for everybody. The grilled cheese is actually going to be a nice touch. Because who doesn't like having some grilled cheese and some good music, right?
Well, that's right. And that's why so the tagline for the shop is that it's not your grandpa's record shop, but also we're the coolest shop since sliced bread.
This one. See that right there. That puts a smile on my face. I like that. I like
the coolest shop since sliced bread.
Oh my goodness. Well, I will tell you this, Shelby. When it does come to your store, you got some Kiss in there. You got your Love Gun, rock and roll all night and party every day. I saw some Grease on the wall, hopelessly devoted to Shelby Doll. Ladies and gentlemen, she's the one that you want. Be here all day with the pop culture euphemisms, but I will say this is not only a step in the right direction and just awesomeness. This is just wonderful to see, not only your happiness, but just you doing what you do, and that is being you, Miss Shelby Doll. And I gotta say, definitely have to have you come back on, talk some more of the record shop. You're always a blast and a delight to interview.
Yeah, no, and thanks for having me on, and it was cool to kind of share my story, and hopefully, some of these people that are having a hard time or they feel down, hopefully more people will get brave and choose themselves and choose their happiness and choose their peace, Life's not hard. Be simple.
Read wholeheartedly. I love that saying. I love that. So what I always say to end this show, and I will add on to this one over here, life being simple and just finding your peace here, because I like your motto, ma'am. I always say with this show, life is an art form. We're all applying our crafts. And folks, continue to apply your craft in amazing fashion. And Shelby, before I do the final LFC plugs, where can we follow you on the social media front, ma'am? The floor is yours.
Yeah, so if you want to follow my record shop, it's at Hard Luck Woman Records, and the website is www.hardluckwomanrecords.com. And if you want to follow me and listen to Wendy, it's just at Official Freedom Music.
All righty. The Instagram and everything and the website will be in the description, folks. If you want to check out this podcast and see this ray of sunshine and awesomeness that is Shelby Dahl and yours truly here, check out Beauty, Strength, and Dominance on the official LFC VIP member, the LFC podcast of the VIP section of the LFC website. And you can check out Shelby over here doing her thing as a judge at LFC 37 and her awesomeness and her past LFC work, which we appreciate you wholeheartedly for your time, ma'am, and everything that goes into this fun, amazing brand that is Lingerie Fighting Championships. Links will be in the description. If you want to follow yours truly here, SM Show 1 or MCL92 on Twitter, Larkin _92 and M Larkin MB on the gram, and Mike Larkin 92. We're here, we're there, we're everywhere. And to quote a fellow Canadian pop band, kind of faded, but we're feeling all right like we're Soul Decision. Ladies and gentlemen, life is an art form. Everything is eclectic. And Shelby, do you have any final words before we close this thing out?
Do I have any final words?
Yeah,
Come rock the shop.
yeah. And with that being said, beauty, strength, and confidence, the three key elements that make women the work of art that they are. And Miss Shelby Dahl, I include you in those sentiments. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much. You're such a blessing, Mike.
As are you. Thank you, Shelby.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Fight, fight, fight. Gonna kick some